We got an OG faction and an OG content creator. Let's go. What's up, guys? MtgJedi here. How you doing today? I'm blessed and honored to have my dude Chosen on the channel today. We're talking Bannerlords. Chosen, how you doing today, buddy?
Yo, what's going on? Thanks for inviting me over to your channel. How you doing?
Oh, it's a good day. It's a good day. Always fun doing collabs, talking about, whatever cool topic of the day it is. And we're in the middle of this Faction Wars faction series where I'm trying to have a different content creator on for each different faction. We're about halfway through it, and it's been an exciting ride. So anything cool and interesting going on over your way?
Oh, same old stuff. Working on all the different channels, Diablo, Raid, and just a bunch of collabs like you're doing, and same old for 4 years now.
Okay, right on, right on. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. Guys, if you haven't seen Chosen for some reason, I will have the links to his channel as well down below, so make sure you check that out. And I'll have the playlist linked for the rest of these collabs at the end of the video if you'd like to check those out as well. For now, let's start talking about Bannerlords. So, Chosen, I like to start off these collabs with talking about our favorite champions in the faction. So, since you are the guest here, would you do me the honor and hit me with your favorite champion or champions in the faction?
Yeah, the Bannerlords, one of the more robust factions. They have a ton of champions of every rarity, one of the more fleshed out ones. I love Stag Knight. I think the epic champion Stag Knight is so good for every stage of the game, early game, mid game, end game. He's an epic, so he's a little bit more accessible. And also a shout out to the one and only battle pass that we ever got in Raid. Stag Knight was the featured epic, I believe, the only epic in the. I think there was like 2 rares, 1 epic and 1 legendary in the only battle pass we ever had, and it was Stag Knight, who ended up being an amazing champion over the years playing Raid.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's like I started playing Raid right before that, so that brings back some nostalgia for me as well. Always loved his character model, and of course his kit is just insanely good still to this day. Excellent selection, my dude.
Thank you.
As far as me, I guess I have to say Manaya. And the reason why is because it's been a meme on my channel here that I've been pulling all of these Coronars and I still have no Manaya. So I'm gonna just say she's my favorite. She's not really my favorite, but we gotta include her in the conversation just because we've talked about her so many times on my channel and I still can't pull her. So we gotta mention her. But if I go for like an actual favorite, these days I would say my favorite in the faction is gonna be Baron. After his buff, he is just a ridiculously overpowered champion that everybody can use. Not just because of the AoE that ignores half of their defense and everything, but his other abilities hit really hard as well. And a lot of times you can get kills on the A1 because of that surplus damage.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job buffing him, and it obviously needed to happen. He was not good enough to carry the weight of being a Void Legendary, but now he is. He has a really cool role in the game, so I'm on board with you there. And yeah, Manaya just is a really poor job in character design on their part. She's got that flat heal of like 10,000 HP, so it doesn't really scale the better you build her and the better gear you get on her. And then she also, on her A3, she heals by their max HP. So again, it's not really something that you can scale with. So she just needs a couple adjustments and she would be a really solid support. But in her current state, she's probably like a bottom 15 legendary.
Yeah, 100% agree. And hopefully they'll buff her just in time for me to pull her on the account. We'll make a big deal.
You're coming for Platinum Arena with your Coronar Manaya.
Yes, exactly. Maybe one day. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in to any unusable champions, whether those are legendaries, epics, if there are any like trap rares that we might fall prey to building. What are your thoughts on that? Because we had a lot of champions in the faction, so
yeah, there's Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely a rabbit hole to go down when you talk about like all the epics that aren't really that good and all that and all the rares. But as far as like the legendaries at the high end, I don't know that they have like an unusable one. The legendaries are pretty solid and they all have a pretty cool role in the Banner Lords. Manaya might honestly be like the worst one. You'd have like Manaya or Richtof, but even Richtof can do some situational damage. And then you kind of hit like the mid tier of their legendaries with like the Heliord, Lord Champfort, and Lugan, but Black Knight. But all of them are pretty like decent, especially in like a faction wars context. If you're just looking for some utility, so I mean, there's probably like 4 or 5 epics that you wouldn't really want to invest in and build that might look like they're decent, but aren't really that great. But they do have some solid epics as well. Lady Annabelle, Stag Knight, and Horden can even do a lot of damage in like a faction wars context. Other than that, nothing too noteworthy. And then honestly, in rares, they're a little bit underwhelming. I don't know that there's one that really stands out to me other than like Dagger, a champion they added about a year and a half ago that is kind of like the Void Affinity War Maiden. Might be decent for like an early game, mid game option for clearing some PvE content. But other than that, the rares are pretty underwhelming as a whole.
Yeah, I totally agree. I did recently build a Valerie. We'll see how that goes. She's not the best, but she does have the shield and the heal. They're little ones, and then she has the buff extension. Her A1 is about as bad as it can get. But we'll see. I haven't used her in a while, so I maxed one out on my new free-to-play account, and we're going to see how that goes, or if that was a waste. I
No,
think
Valerie's a pretty good early game support. There's definitely nothing wrong with trying to get some utility out of her for a while.
okay, sweet, sweet. I hope that's true. The rest of the rares, I don't really think that I would build. Deadwood loves a good ally protector or increased defense champion, so like Chevalier. But I wouldn't build him. I don't think I would build the majority of the rares in the faction, and a lot of the epics I think are trouble. You know, like our friendly login Lordly Legionary. I just can't imagine anyone using him well. And a lot of these just damaged champions like Knight Errant or Sir Artemage, even like Rowan, you know, all of these champions who their primary focus is supposed to be damage. I just don't even think that they're survivable enough to really help you out. I tried a masked
Yeah,
fearmonger too, and that guy was a disaster.
Yeah, they've got kind of both ends of the spectrum in the epics. They've got really good ones and really bad ones. You know, at the top end with Stag Knight, Lady Annabelle is really solid, and then the Archmage Helmet would be like probably the top 3 epics. And the one, oh, Ursula is a really good
Oh yeah.
support. But like that would be the 4 epics that are like good in the Bannerlords. And other than that, I don't really think there's going to be one worth the epic book investment. Now, funny side note, remember Geescard when they announced him? I did a collab with Cold Brew, and he had like a 2-turn provoke,
Yeah.
and we were like, "This guy's gonna be crazy." And then they nerfed it before he got released. So Giscard was close to being an awesome like top 4 epic in the faction, but that was short lived.
I think the content creators just made too big of a deal. I think it would have been fine as is, and now he's just very medium, but he's still usable though. I would
Oh, come
say.
on! You act like Plarium, cares what we think to that level. I'd have to push back on that.
All right. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. One of my favorite secret weapons in this faction is always Seneschal. I put him as like a very high rating for Faction Wars specifically because he does a lot of things all in the same kit. He has that provoke that's going to be an AoE, and he can protect and heal somebody as well as putting Leech up there. So I do recommend him a lot of times for players as a go-to for champions to use. Are there
Yeah,
any
and great
other?
for boss fights, yeah, as well, because you're gonna have that
Mhm.
permanent leech, so you'll have basically lifesteal on your whole team. So if you're looking to like 3-star content, yeah, Seneschal would definitely be like a mid-tier epic here in the faction to think about. But what were you asking me? Is there anybody that I missed or anybody else? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, geez, who would be like a sleeper that doesn't get talked about enough?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we kind of hit them. Because I would have said like maybe Lady Annabelle gets underappreciated, but I think the last like 2 or 3 months, I think more people are starting to kind of realize that she's a pretty solid epic.
Totally agree.
And then Yeah, and then the legendaries, I think they're all mostly understood accurately. One isn't really standing out to me in terms of being underutilized.
Okay.
Yeah, Raglan, one of the best revivers in the game if you're trying to like 3-star faction wars, but it's a
Mhm.
void Lego, so not going to be a huge choice for most people. And Killian can do surprisingly well in faction wars as well.
Yeah, especially now that he was buffed. He's way better now than he was before because this skill is now AoE, used to be single target and very different. So I actually like him quite a bit. And with everybody having Rhonda right now, all you need to do is throw some support champions alongside of her, and she can really handle the majority of the damage and a little bit of the control with, her A2 and whatnot.
And a little fun fact here in the Bannerlords, the first legendary that I ever booked and fully invested in, like 6-star books and all of that, was actually a Lord Champ for it because the first
Wow.
3 legendaries I got was first one was War Mother, second one
Okay.
was Shamrock,
All
and then
right.
the third one was Lord Champ for it. And I remember doing content and being like, I'm sitting on like 20 something legendary books by now, and I gotta spend them. I was like, I just keep getting these trash can legendaries that I don't want to invest in. I gotta invest in one of these 3, so I'm gonna go with Lord Champ for it. And he actually ended up being pretty decent in terms of progression. He had a big dungeon aura and all of that. So yeah, just a little fun nugget there is that Lord Champ for it was the first one I ever invested in.
That's cool. Has he had the same kit the entire time?
He got like I believe he got a slight buff like maybe a
Okay.
year and a half ago. But yeah, he's decent because he's got the AoE attack down and,
Yeah.
and all that, and he has a big aura. So he wasn't amazing, but in terms of somebody to invest in and get some a tanky champion that can bring at least some utility, he was one that I used a lot for like the first 6 months I played Raid.
That's awesome. That's a super cool story. I love that they're adding some new champions here. Unfortunately, all the ones we've gotten lately are voids, but Stultus being added in there has been great. And then, of course, with the new epics, we've gotten Lady Annabelle, we've gotten Eolfrig, however you say his name. So I like that they're still adding a couple new champions in here, even though this is a pretty fleshed out faction. I'm glad that
Yep.
they're still not forgetting about it?
Yeah, Stultus is one of my favorite champions they've released in like the last year. I think he's just got an amazing look to him. It's
Yeah.
super cool how he like calls in a Draco as part of his A3, and then they have him like countering Draco with his passive, and then he's got like the Draco helm, and he's super viable for like the hard dungeons, but he's not like so good that he like breaks the meta in PvP like Marichka and Terras. So I feel like it's like the best they've done in designing and releasing a champion and adding him to the game in Stultus.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I recently just built mine also. Great multipliers, great kit. Overall, just really good champion. I wish they would buff a couple more champions like Lugan, Black Knight, Manaya. That'd be great, but there's probably a lot higher priorities in some of the other factions that aren't as well fleshed out.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, it is what it is. It's the evolution of the game. You've got, 150 something legendaries probably at this point, and a few of them have kind of slipped through the cracks and just not kind of grown with the game and evolved with the meta. And, some of those ones like Black Knight even got buffed about, almost 2 years ago at this point. But some of them, they tried to buff them a little bit. They just don't do balance changes enough or robust enough. Like if you're only going to do them every 2 or 3 months, they need to be doing like 12 champions instead of 3.
Yeah, definitely agree. Well, let's go ahead and transition over into our last topic here. And you were able to get me a sweet picture I'm gonna put on screen here, so this is gonna be fun. So tell us about this picture that you sent me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the first Bannerlords team that I used to finish Bannerlords and 3-star Stage 21. So this is back years ago, back when they first released Faction Wars. And I was doing like these intro to Faction Wars guides back then, you know me with the infographics and all that. So I was building these infographics in Photoshop to showcase my team and some of the stats required. And you can see the power creep of the stats. Like back then, the average accuracy on there was 201 and the average HP is only 60K. Now it'd probably be like 75, 80. And the speeds are like 202, 187 because we didn't have speed glyphs or anything back then. So it's definitely been an evolution over the last few years, but that was actually the first team that I built in the Bannerlords to complete the faction.
That is really cool. I'm so glad that you were able to keep that and share that with us. So all those OG champions in there, really cool. And how has your team changed up until now? Are you using any kind of similar team for your farming team, or you have a lot of changes?
Yeah, I mean, as you slowly kind of evolve and progress your gear and your overall account power, you can start to shift your teams just more like glass cannon in faction wars and get to a point where you're trying to like speed farm because I don't really need to clear it to get like a 3-star. So you see that team there was 4.5 minutes. I've got my Banner Lords team down to like 50 seconds now. I just go
Nice.
with a bunch of DPS. Rhonda is a new one that I believe I put in the team. So yeah, you mainly just go Baron, Rhonda, and I'm lucky enough to have some of the really good Banner Lord champions, Septimus, all of that, and I just kind of try to blast down the run and do it in about a minute or so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I think that that's a great point. Like, a lot of people watching the video are going to be concerned about, well, okay, how can I 3-star this content? Who do I need to use? But another important thing for people watching this who have already cleared it is, how fast can you make your time? What team can you use that's going to give you that fast, consistent clear? So, excellent point there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it every day and you're doing it 3, 4, whatever times a day, even if you can just save a minute, I mean, that saves you like an hour a month in playing faction wars. And then if you do that over the course of every single faction, you're starting to stack up time save. And you have to look at raid as a big macro picture like that because they keep adding more and more things, which is great. But it also kind of turns raid into like this 6-hour a day MMO. So you really got to start to be a little bit conscious about how long some of the stuff takes.
Yeah, 100%. So we could see my Banner Lords team here on screen, kind of the same idea. Mine's a little bit more defensive, because I still have Raglan in the team and your dude Lord Champfort, but then we have 3 other damage dealers. Like, my Baron is about as glass cannon as it can get, so Raglan revives him if they get a hit on him. And then we have, of course, Stultus and Rhonda in there as well. Kind of the same idea, but I don't have enough DPS just to go full DPS. So still a nice endgame team though.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, well, as we're wrapping up here, what other thoughts you have that you want to share about faction wars in general? Anything happening on your channel? Anything you want to say while we're wrapping it up?
Yeah, no, I mean, not really. Just kind of same old, working on developing a website and cranking out the guides and the champion guides, the infographics and all that, and still enjoying the game and hoping that it's gonna be a big thing for years to come. And yeah, faction war is one of my more favorite areas of the game because I think it gives an opportunity to provide value to champions that otherwise would be completely worthless because you need to build a team for every single faction. And I think it was a really good thing they added to the game because of that, because it really brought the game more to life and gave you more of a sustained long-term goal with champions that you otherwise wouldn't have any care in the world about.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I love Faction Wars so much as well. And, you're doing a great job with all the visuals. I think that's got to be one of your definite strengths that you bring to the raid community. So, guys, if you haven't seen any of that stuff from Chosen, make sure you go check out his stuff over there. We'll have the links below. Thank you so much for being here, my dude. I appreciate you. And, that'll do it for this video. The playlist with the rest of the collabs will be coming on screen here at the end if you want to check those out. Like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next one.